Well, I think it's working. I think so. I hope the audio is okay. I'm completely flying blind in terms of audio quality, so I will have to check in with you guys to make sure that it is possible the way I know it to be possible, and we shall see what we shall see. Now, hi everybody. So I had to switch over entirely different software. So it's an adventure. Oh, the audio's fuzzy? I think that's what it's probably the loudness thing on it. I will fix that in just a moment. It's probably because it needs to be brought up a little bit, and the loudness aspect of it is that a little better? Could be hot mic, could be what's going in there. I think everything should be, there we go. Add a little bit of a pad on it. There we go. All right, bringing it down. Because I don't want it to be too quiet. There you go, now it's getting too quiet. Somewhere around there should be all right, I hope. There we go, something like that. Finger crossed, yeah. I'll just leave it like that for a second, and then I won't know if people can tell. Right, there you go. Better. Yeah, is it okay? Smash it good, excellent. Give us a thumbs up and a like for all the behind the scenes I've been doing. The amount of I had to abandon Streamlabs OBS and OBS altogether because of choppy video issues. This is hopefully we will get to a point where it will be a tolerable setup today, and then I can just kind of build on it as we go, causing as much trouble as I possibly can, especially since we have a kind of a special guest, is a fellow that many of us are aware is a person of very rough being, and we don't know what could possibly be this sort of thing, because today, man, we got this Russian guy who's going to totally tell us what's up, and he's apparently Vladimir Putin thought it'd be a good idea to have a press conference in the basement of a Ramada. So one of the big things that the Republicans have been pushing on, and by the way, there's a reason why all the networks shot him as close as possible. Because he's SM all. Putin is shorter than I am. Just saying for the record. Crackling audio. Switch to camera. The switched cameras did it. Hold on. That's what'll do it. Hold on. I think I can figure this out. Bringing it down, bringing this down, bringing that down, bringing this up. How about that? And then check-it-a-ding-do. Maybe there, some of there. It is loud and buzzing, and there, and better. Sorry about this. We will get it saturated, better, good, yes. Better, and is it loud enough is the question, I guess. Because it seems very quiet compared to the other audio. So, wish me luck, and see how it compares to the audio of the streams of this man here. But better, okay, I can't fix. Is it clear? Is it better? Is it good? That's the question. I'm seeing a lot of goods and batters and fines. There's a delay on, when you guys are reacting, so audio will be a bit wonk start to finish. It's good without cracking. Excellent. Okay, good. Phew. Like I said, I'm flying blind on this because I had to use completely different audio because software to do a whole thing. Because destroyed. Yes? Because all streaming software has taken giant shit on itself. Yes? So here we go. Yes, Putin on the Ritz. And less Putin on the Ritz and more like Putin on the Motel 6, but that's not important. The important thing is that the big talking point on the right is that, by God, Biden has no, he's afraid to be on the same stage as Putin. He doesn't, this sort of back and forth that it's a sign of weakness for him to not do this, a puppet show like Trump did last time. Any of that stuff. So, they held separate ones, and those of you that saw either clips or the full thing, and I missed a good chunk of this, so we're going to do as much of it as we can stand. It's it's available for the watching. But when he did this one, basically at the economic and international level of Russia, which is in a conference room that looks like it's at a mid-level hotel in Geneva. And Biden did his outside in front of a giant garden with huge American flags. It was definitely a statement. It went beyond just like, well, we're not going to do this kind of puppet show stage thing like Putin did with Trump last time. We're going to speak for ourselves. Yes, in Mother Russia, room conference is you. That's right. So it's a fascinating prospect, for like I honestly, the teeth grinding that must be going on over Newsmax and stuff, and I'm sure we'll see parts of it, videos of it show up later tonight or tomorrow about, oh, what a failure. Oh my God, Biden embarrassed everybody. Oh yeah. I love how Biden made Putin wait for him. Exactly. There's a lot of stagecraft going on here that's very important. And a lot of people talk about the size of Russia's economy. This is a constant refrain about the Russian economy. And I would like to say distinctly that they are all wrong. I have been wrong in the past when I've described it this way. And after looking into it, a lot of this is, super important in terms of how you address the reality that's going on in that country, right? In the circumstance that's happening, right? Hold on, I'm blocking a spam. So, the idea is that, we've heard this before, but Russia has an economy smaller than Texas, smaller than California, smaller than Italy. And this is the constant refrain. And I've mentioned this before because on the material levels, on the kind of overall how much money is the country kind of worth, that's true, but it's false in terms of the Russian people. Because the vast majority of what you're seeing in terms of wealth in Russia does not belong to the greater populace. Or even, quite frankly, like we have here, several billionaires who integrate their holdings in the United States or any of that. The oligarchical gangster economy that is Russia, and what happens economically to the people of Russia, I believe, and I genuinely feel, are two separate things and need to be addressed as such, because it's inflating the actual concrete life of the Russian people, and I mean that almost literally, to equate the money that Putin and his buddies are running off with and what actually passes through the economy of Russia for real. There's a distinct difference between these two, right? A kleptocracy, right? And this is, I think, an important distinction that needs to be made, because the real economy of Russia, minus all the skimming that happens, in terms of the oil and gas industry, which is their primary industry, which is all run by Putin's buddies, and the money is hidden outside the country as if they're all, avoiding taxes on their own country by parking it in the Caymans. That part of the economy is not the Russian economy, any more than you would check a bank's assets and include funds that are always being embezzled. You cannot take out a loan in a bank or loan money from a bank based on money that should be there but ain't, right? If that makes sense, right? So it's just an important distinction I'd like to make. Now, hopefully audio will be okay in terms of this stuff. Fingers crossed. We shall see what we shall see.
As well as the quality.
Okay, so, and by the way, this jumps in kind of at the beginning of this thing.
For instance, have you discussed the Ukrainian topic? Have you discussed the situation in Donbass and possible Ukraine accession to NATO? And in the run-up to negotiations, there were a lot of expectations of ambassadors returning to their host countries. Your assistant, Mr. Ushakov, talked on that. Have you decided on that? With regard to return of ambassadors to their workplaces, return of American ambassador to Moscow and our ambassador to Washington.
I love this dude just over here. Just like, I can't tell if he's filming the filming of the filming or if he's selfieing himself and reporting live from Masktown.
We agreed that they would return to their service, to their duties. As for the timeline, tomorrow or the day after, this is pure technicality. We agreed that Russian MFA and State Department will start consultations on the whole range of issues of diplomatic cooperation. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of questions have piled up. I believe that both parties, including the United States, seek to find common ground and find solutions. As for Ukraine, indeed, we touched upon this matter. I wouldn't say that we had lengthy conversation on that, but as far as I understood...
Yeah, we were told that the U.S. and NATO are allied again firmly on any encroachment in Ukraine and don't even try it.
President Biden, he said that the basis for the Ukrainian settlement should be the Minsk package of measures. As for possible Ukraine accession to NATO, well, we just touched upon this broadly, and there's nothing to discuss here. Itartas News Agency. Please give the floor to Itartas. Mr. President, you said that one of the topics was strategic stability. Could you please elaborate on the decisions on this matter? And will Russia and the United States resume or launch negotiations on strategic stability and disarmament, and namely on the New START
I have to say, Putin's looking a little sad-sacky.
treaty? Do you plan to start negotiations on their further extension?
He was grinning. He was grinning a lot more during the exchanges with Trump.
Review of modalities, or maybe a signing of a new treaty in this area? Thank you. The US and Russia hold special responsibility for strategic stability in the world.
Yeah, by the way, that's him inflating his position in the world. We used to have a standing Cold War with Russia. Now we only negotiate with them because, unlike Iran and North Korea, they're not creating more nukes or expanding their nuclear program. It's already there. So we have to deal with them because they have that. And to basically set up an exchange because of the cyber warfare stuff that they're doing. So we're trying to play nice so that they don't, there's a minor level of mutual assured destruction that's going on there. We're nearly at that point. They kind of get into that later.
Judging by the fact that we are largest nuclear powers in terms of the number of warheads, re-entry vehicles, and delivery means, as well as the quality and the scale of modernity of these weapons, we realized this responsibility, and President Biden took a responsible and timely decision to extend the New START treaty by another 5 years till 2024. Indeed, a question
a little COVID
arises: what's next? We agreed that we will launch consultations at the interagency level under the auspices of the U.S. State Department and the Russian Foreign Ministry. Colleagues at the working level will decide on the makeup of these delegations and the venue for negotiations, as well as the...
I gotta say, like, do you guys remember him having looks on his face like that during the Trump exchange? Seriously. The live is a bit fuzzy. Oh, the live feed is? Beg your pardon? Could it be the maybe? I don't know. I'm sorry if it is. I don't know what that is. I'll try to make it better each time. Looks like a UHF channel. That's weird. Super pixely. That's weird. Is that everywhere or just YouTube? It's a Putin filter? Probably. I always worry about bringing in the opening up my video to check it during the show, because it always ends up. Oh, I see what you mean. Like the blurry pixely. You're right. I'm doing keyframe intervals. Weird. Okay. Yeah, it's a little washy. That I can't fix live, but at least it's not choppy, I guess. That's our blessing. Huh? I'll try and fix it as we go, if I even can. But, you know, it beats the max headroom thing, I hope.
Schedule of these meetings. Let's give the floor to foreign journalists. CNN, major chance.
Why'd they cut his question out? That's not me, by the way, doing that audio. They just dropped his audio for some reason. What is exactly your problem? I've been sitting out here for a lot of times. We're both men. We're both wearing khakis, right? We both like to ride a bear with no shirt on. What is your problem? Can you answer that for me? Look.
As for the overall assessment, I believe there's been no hostility. On the contrary, our meeting took place in a constructive spirit. Indeed, we have varied assessments on a number of issues, but both sides expressed their intention to understand each other and to seek common ground. Talks were quite constructive. As for cybersecurity, we agreed that we would begin consultations in this respect. I believe it is extremely important. As for responsibilities and who should take them, let me brief you on
a lot of throat
matters
clearing.
that are common knowledge, but probably not everybody is aware of that.
It's like, I love when he tries to switch into cowboy.
U.S. sources.
When it really just looks like he's got something in his eye.
I don't want to make a mistake here as to the name of this organization, but the U.S. sources claim that the majority of cyber attacks are made from the U.S. territory. Then a second one is Canada, then two Latin American states, and then the UK. As for Russia, it is not listed in this ranking of countries that see
She said ranking, not wanking, just to be clear.
the significant number of cyber attacks from their territory. That's one thing. Secondly, throughout 2020, we have received 10 requests regarding cyber attacks, on the U.S. infrastructure. As our colleagues put it, these cyber attacks were launched from the Russian territory. And we received 2 such requests this year. And on all these requests, our colleagues received exhaustive answers. On its turn, Russia sent last year 45 such requests to the relevant agencies of the United States. And this year, we sent 35 requests. And no response has been provided so far. That says that we have a lot to work on. And as for the scale of responsibilities and who should take them, it should be decided within negotiations. We agreed that we would start such consultations, and we believe that the cybersecurity area is extremely important in the world at large, for the United States in particular, as well as for the Russian Federation to the same extent. For instance, we know about cyber attacks against a pipeline organization in the United States, and we know that this company had to pay a ransom of 5 million USD. According to my information, they were returned some parts of this money from electronic wallets, but
yeah, they were returned it. It was a refund. That is very sweet. You mean you're aware of the fact that the U.S. Law enforcement agencies, specifically the FBI, got access to the Bitcoin wallet and got the money back, which scared the crap out of the oligarchs, and a lot of them bailed out of Bitcoin and moved into other ones and caused a drop in Bitcoin almost the same day because they were all aware of this attack.
But some parts of this money is still missing, but...
Some parts. Look at his face. Maybe.
What does...
I mean, I don't know where it might be. I've heard that maybe some of this money exists. Who can really say? I mean, honestly, does money even exist anymore? I can't tell.
And what do Russian authorities have to do this? We face the similar threats when it comes to one of the key Russian regions and its healthcare system.
Yeah,
and we see
totally.
where these cyber attacks are launched from. We see that these attacks are coordinated from the United States territory. I don't think that the United States authorities are interested in such kind of manipulations.
Probably not.
We need to get rid of all kinds of insinuations and innuendo, and we should launch the expert work for the benefit of the United States and the Russian Federation. We have reached an agreement in principle of that, and Russia is ready to do that.
Yeah, we've reached an agreement in principle that if you guys you start to knock it off or rein in the people you do have control in, we won't turn off your oil and gas sector completely for months at a time.
Artie, please give the mic to Artie.
Yeah, give the mic to Audie. How's it going? What's happening, Audie? Good to see you, man. Hope you're fully vaccinated.
Yeah, I believe some...
No, you know what? Let's not give it to Audie. You know, he hasn't earned it.
Part of the question was not answered.
Look, honestly, I told you before that I wanted access to the pool. I've got a little card that says I get to go in the pool. You say I can't. I say I can. Can't we just agree to disagree? I don't know what the question is still. We hear the answer. I don't know that. I don't know why NBC is cutting the questions of the of CNN.
Well, to be honest, this part of the question was not interpreted, or maybe you decided to ask a second part of your question. But with regards to commitments to Ukraine, we have one single commitment to help and facilitate the implementation of the Minsk agreements. If the Ukrainian side is ready to do that, we are ready to follow this path.
If you're ready to follow the path of doing whatever we say, you know, the Minsk agreement, our self-congratulating diplomacy, where we just go, I agree with myself on this. I agree. I think we should all agree that we can agree that we're right about this. Exactly. Okay, cool. Everybody online? Okay. You have a question? Put a bag on his head, drag him out of the room.
Path without any doubts. Let me draw your attention to one thing. In November 2020, the Ukrainian delegation presented its ideas on how it intends to implement the Minsk agreements.
Right.
And it's not a confidential document. It stipulates that, first of all, proposals on the political integration of Donbas to the Ukrainian legal system should be presented, as well as to the constitution. To this end, constitution should be amended. It is stipulated there.
Right.
That's the first thing. And secondly, borders between the Russian Federation and Ukraine
should be porous and based on our geopolitical decisions. I mean, what could be easier, man? Come on.
The Donbas line, this security situation should be ensured the next day after the election. That's Article 9. So what did Ukraine...
Yeah, after a weekend, the next time we're able to turn their election upside down, then you can, then we'll decide, we'll agree on the Minsk thing after we've installed our people in the second round.
Propose. As a first step, it proposed to return the Ukrainian armed forces to their permanent stationing areas. That means that Ukrainian armed forces should be deployed in Donbas. That's the first thing. And secondly, they propose to close Ukrainian-Russian border in this area. And third, to hold elections 3 months after these two steps.
And my name is, a lot of people call me John Wayne when they walk like this and to talk like this. Okay, man?
One doesn't need to be a lawyer, and one doesn't need to have a special experience to...
No, I mean, just trust me. Just sign the goddamn thing.
understand that.
You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't even need a lawyer to look this over. Just sign it. It's fine. You know what I mean? Just think of it as your iTunes terms of service. If Apple Music was killing tens of thousands of people, you know what I mean?
That it hasn't nothing to do with the Minsk agreements. It contradicts fully to the Minsk agreements. So what kind of additional obligations should Russia take here? I believe that the answer is pretty understandable. As for the exercises, we're holding these exercises in our territory, just like the United States does with regard to many drills.
Yeah, we weren't moving troops right up to the border, to get ready. We weren't staging troops. It was an exercise, guys.
But we do not hold our exercises by deploying the military equipment close to the
Yeah, they're just doing a little PT, kids.
US border. Unfortunately, that's what the American partners are doing with regard to our border. So we need to...
Yeah, we're just doing exercises right up to the border of Ukraine. When it's definitely aggressive moves when NATO or the United States or the Ukrainians make sure that there are support troops at the border in case we try to come across.
Need to have these concerns, not them, but this is the subject of discussion.
YouTube is screwing up. It's very weird. It seems okay on my end.
And of clarifying positions. With regard to our non-systemic opposition, and a citizen that you have mentioned, first, this person knew full well that he...
How isn't blurry? It just looks like one of those filters that removes wrinkles. No, it's definitely blurry. It's particle issues, because it doesn't look that way on my software, but it does look that way on the window on Restream, and I don't know where the is between the two. There's definitely a in between, so...
He violates...
I don't know what is happening, man. What could be the... We don't know.
Law that exists in Russia, and he had to understand that he is a person that is a repeated offender.
Yeah, he keeps saying he's innocent, and we give him an extra year every time he says, I'm innocent.
Deliberately violated this law. He went abroad to receive medical treatment.
Yeah, which is obviously illegal.
And
when he could be pushed out of a perfectly good hospital window here. Why fly all the way to Berlin to be gassed in a park when we're happy to do it right here while you're hooked up to an IV with liquid nitrogen going into it? Once
he went out of hospital and posted his videos online. A requirement.
It's very hot in the Ramada Inn, by the way.
Appeared, but he ignored the requirements of the law. And
yeah, so look, it's very clear in Russian law. If we try to murder you and you go someplace else and you're not dead, you have to return as quickly as possible so you don't... Look, poison has a freshness date, okay? Look, it will spoil. This is the good stuff.
And he knew full well that he's wanted. Nevertheless, he came back to Russia and he deliberately wanted to be arrested. So he did what he wanted to do. What can we say here?
What else is there, man?
Got to persons like himself and the systemic opposition at large. Unfortunately, the format of the press conference does not allow us to have a detailed conversation of that. But let me say the following.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that it's pretty simple and it would be clear to everyone. And if you could just have an unbiased coverage of this, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, we are biased. We do come from sort of a pro-democracy angle.
So the United States declared Russia as its enemy and adversary, and the Congress made it back in 2017. The US legislation have provisions that...
Hey, that's why we call them bare hands in Russia, because that's what they're for, killing a bear. You kill a bear with your bare hands, and you kill fox with your feet. Fox with your fox feet.
The United States should support the order and rule of democratic order in our country and support democratic organizations. And it is all contained in your legislation. So let us ask a question. If Russia is an enemy, then what kind of organizations would be supported by the United States and Russia? I believe these are not organizations that make Russia stronger, but those who deter Russia. And that is the goal of the United States that they made public. So these are organizations and people that help implement the US policy on the Russian track. So what should be our take on this?
Yeah, what do we do, man?
Clearly, we should be cautious about it, but we would be guided and we would act within the Russian law.
Okay, please give Pavel Zarubin the mic and then...
Yeah, they're swapping out and you can hear the chairs moving.
Go back to RT. Pavel Zarubin, I wanted to follow up on this subject.
Yeah, man, tell them what's up.
I mean, look at it. Americans are continuously keeping up with this rhetoric of political prisoners in Russia. They peddle this theme. Have you even...
It's RT. Gee, some serious straight-up ass-kissing.
Brought up the Navalny topic during the talks? And if you did, in what tonality? And the second question.
Yeah, were you sufficiently sarcastic when you're like, yeah, oh yeah, Navalny? Did you say it like that? Or you're like, oh yeah, Navalny, because we need to know this if we're going to topple you?
We are seeing a new stage of Russia-American relations. It started with a rather harsh statement of his in your his description of you.
Well, not in my estimation. Man, look, if dude calls me a killer, you gotta say, it's like, I felt like high-fiving myself, but I couldn't reach. It was very weird.
President Biden has indeed touched on the subject of human rights and the subject...
We thought it was hilarious.
People who think,
We think people that think that Navalny is human. I mean, it's just absurd, bro.
They are fully in tune with the subjects, with this topic in Russia. We've discussed this.
Yeah, we discuss it. If you discuss it...
We've discussed harsh statements as well. We've heard them. He called me right afterwards. He explained himself, and I was fully all right with what he said.
It was true. I mean, I was like, bro, if you're gonna call me a killer, at least say, naked bear riding killer. Something, give it a little goose. We got a lot of killers in Russia. You're making me sound average.
Offered to meet. I mean, this was his initiative. We've met. And once again, the conversation was quite constructive, and I once again understood that President Biden is an experienced statesman. Our one-on-one conversation took almost 2 hours. It's not every world leader that gets this amount of attention. I mean, his predecessor was asked the same question. He evaded this. This president decided to respond to the question directly.
Oh, look at that. So Trump dodged a question? Huh. I wonder how Newsmax is going to handle that little snippet. I'm kidding. They'll ignore it.
And in this, he is very different from President Trump.
Uh-huh. You mean he doesn't avoid difficult issues?
But look at it this way.
Yeah.
Anything that happens in our countries is something that political leadership is responsible for, and the presidents included. Who stands accused of what? Who's the killer? But look at it this way. Look at the American streets. People are getting killed there, including those who are leading the various political organizations. You can get a bullet in the back of your neck.
What? What political leaders in our country have gotten a bullet in the back of the neck? What? Hold on. Run that by me again?
Various political organizations. You can get a bullet in the back of your neck.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Woman just ran away from the police and they shot her in the back.
What?
But take Afghanistan.
Please. Take Afghanistan, please. What?
Single strike can kill to the tune of 120 people. All right, assuming this was a mistake, it happens on a war. But shooting from a drone at an unarmed crowd, clearly the civilian crowd, what is this about? How would you call that?
How would you call that? I mean, what are they trying to do? Take my methodology or something? They're cribbing from my notes, man.
And who's responsible for this? And how would you call this person who is the killer now?
Yeah, we don't mean to do that. We have distinct rules against that. You actually tell people who would not otherwise do it to do it. That would be the distinction, I think. That would be the...
Or going back to the human rights record. The Guantanamo prison is still operating.
Yeah. That's our one thing. We've been trying to shut that down, and the Republicans have been pushing back against that for a while. Yeah, we know Guantanamo's that way. Any prison in Russia runs effectively like Guantanamo. Guantanamo is a stain on America because that's not how we want to run our system. I almost feel like he's jealous that it's still open.
Doesn't even start to resemble what is stipulated in the international law or in the
Yeah, not like our prisons, man.
U.S. legislation, and yet it exists.
Oh, you think he's talking about Ashley Babbitt? Ashley Babbitt was shot from the front. He said she was shot in the back. I mean, honestly, God knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Secret CIA prisons across the globe, including those in the European countries, where people were tortured. Well, is this the great human rights record?
Yeah. Yes. Because we push back against those things. We've been ineffective at getting some of our leaders jailed or the courts acting on those things. But as a people, we're against it. Whereas even if the people were against it in Russia, they would never have any recourse about any of this stuff. Ask Alexei Navalny now, not post 9/11, not after the United States and the Patriot Act and all this stuff after the most egregious terrorist attack in the country. Not after that, and not in our recovery from that and our national trauma making us move beyond our ethics and our principles. But the current principles right now in Russia, what we think is right and wrong versus what you think is right and wrong?
Oh, I doubt that. Would anyone here would agree that this is how you protect the human rights?
Would anyone think that you have any standing to even discuss the debate about how far security goes in that regard when you're jailing Navalny because he went to another country because he was poisoned by you, came back and you arrested him for it?
But this are facts on the ground. And this is the reality of the politics today. And we understand that this is how it's been done. And on the basis of that, we respond.
Yeah, we'll basically just say, you know, we can kill whoever we want because you kill whoever you want. And when, you know, the Trumps of the world say it doesn't really matter, it's really awesome for us.
So when people get funding from abroad to stand for the hidden agenda of those who are paying them, who pays the piper?
Who pays the piper?
RT now, please. RT, a question about the Arctic. You've mentioned
A question about the Arctic. When do you think we'll start to be able to farm there?
the discussion on this track, and the United States have been accusing Russia of militarizing the Arctic. And so do the United States allies. In March, State Secretary Blinken voiced his concern. So what have you discussed in detail? Well, we've discussed this in an extended format with our aides present. And this is an interesting field. I mean, the exploration of the Arctic and in general and...
By exploration, we mean poking holes in the ground and sucking oil out of it so that we can get it to the Middle East and Southern Europe as quickly as possible before the bottom drops out of the market and we have nothing else we produce.
Northern Sea Route in particular is of huge interest for many countries, not just us in the United States. So yes, the United States have concerns, but they are completely baseless. I mean, these concerns about the militarization are baseless. We are not doing anything new. We are simply restoring the infrastructure that...
We're not doing anything new. We're doing the same thing we always did, just further, okay? You understand? Like I was making a humping motion with my hips, right? The only difference is my pants are down and I'm on you. See what I mean? I'm not changing anything.
that has already been there. All right, we are retooling this,
Jesus.
We are retrofitting this, the borderline infrastructure, the military infrastructure, but also the environment conservation and emergency command and search and rescue infrastructure. We are creating...
Yeah, we have to create a great command and rescue thing for all the guys that we're sending out on boats to break ice who are falling into the ocean because our boats are shit.
the capacity to save people at sea. If
Thanks,
that,
Verena.
God forbid, happens, or we're trying to protect the environment.
That's why they're crossing. That's why they want oil exploration in the Arctic, to protect the environment. Yeah.
I've told our colleagues that I see no grounds for concern whatsoever. Quite the opposite. I think there's plenty of ground for cooperation, and we should cooperate in this. After all, Russia and the United States are one of the 8 members of the Arctic Council. And by the way, Russia chairs the Arctic Council this year.
So it's our turn to poke holes in the earth, okay? Get it?
Moreover, as you probably know, there's a strait between Alaska and Chukotka. On one side you have the United
His name is Gary.
States and other Russia. All this taken together should actually prompt us to work together to redouble the effort. And the use of Northern Sea Route, its use is regulated by the international law. There are 2 major regulations. It's the Law of the Sea of the United Nations, that dates back to 1982, if I'm not mistaken, and the Polar Code, which is comprised of several documents, which was ratified in 2017. So that's the legal...
Yeah, I mean, and Trump was involved in that, so obviously we got everything we wanted. I don't know.
framework.
Yeah, hi, Gary.
So I drew the attention of our counterparts to this and to the fact that we, Russia, fully stand ready to stand by these international regulations. We have never infringed upon any of them.
Yeah, because it was not possible. There was too much ice in the fucking way. But now the ice goes away. It's super easy. It's great.
We stand ready to lend a helping hand to all the countries and companies who wish to explore the possibilities of Northern Sea route. Now the navigation is open for half a year, but in fact it's more than that. And as the planet warms, this navigation will be open for a longer time.
Yeah, yeah. This is the upside of global warming.
New icebreakers, including the leader icebreaker, are put online, and we have the mightiest icebreaker fleet in
Yes, we know. That's kind of the
the
problem.
world. So
The ice doesn't need any more help breaking free.
this proves the much demand for the use of Northern Sea route. Now, the law of the sea
By us as an attack route.
of the United Nations describes and sets the legal framework in and around of of the international waters, territorial waters of the country, adjacent seas,
By the way, he seems kind of aggravated.
exclusive economic zone, and the freedom of the sea, the internal seas.
Anytime his energy gets up, you can tell that there was some pushback in the meeting about
What
it.
is that? These are the seas that lie within the sovereign territory of the country. Then the territorial sea, 12 miles.
Jesus.
Adjacent sea, 12 more miles.
Boring. Jumping ahead.
Deem them unfit to comply with the Polar Code. And the Polar Code
Oh my
is
God.
to work together to continue and follow through on cybersecurity, on strategic stability.
Here we go.
And I think that it is
Yeah, we're gonna work together with Russia on cybersecurity. That's really that's what's been missing here is a good partnership.
during these consultations and in our common effort in the Arctic, we'll be able to spell out the specific details. ABC News, please. Our American partners.
Our American partners. Yeah, yeah. Russia and Disney are like this. What? And they're blocking. I don't know why they're like NBC is. Is that the rule that they just block out the question? It's aggravating. Hold on. I'm going to switch over to something real quick, if I might. Hey, look at that. And the picture works and everything. All right. Is it? And I want to see if that helps the picture at all. If it cleans it up in the switchover. Nope. Still kind of fuzzy. I'm not quite sure what that is. Because it looks fine and normal on here, but it's very fuzzy on my volume changed. Oh yeah, that's right, because the audio is shifted or whatever. Still grainy. Yep. I'll work on these aspects. I apologize for the loud. I'm very loud. Okay, good. Hold on one second. The audio, where is it? There it is. Check one. Hey, look at that. Oh, it's the loudness thing again. So we'll bring this down to here. Hopefully that will make it a little better. There we go. Fuzzy. Yeah, it's very curious. I'm not quite sure how. Not as fuzzy on Facebook. Excellent. I'm gonna have to mess around with the output thing on there. Is it jack connector bend or something? Yeah, that's what it is. There's just water in the pipe. It's good. Yeah. And I don't know what that is. Because even the background, look at the background's like, it's really crisp on my software, but it's really fuzzy on the feed. So it's annoying me. Did Putin make the Sputnik vaccine? Yes, in a lab by himself. Hold on one second. I want to call something up that I will get to in a moment. I'm just going to pull something up just to have, because I don't know how much of his ridiculousness I can actually stand. I mean, I watched the whole thing. Here we go. There's Fauci gonna. Let's see. So the idea is that we'll go to.
We know America.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure that yeah. Is this about his actual speech or the notes that he's using at the meeting? Hold on. So Greg Kelly, I'm going to jump over because I don't know how much Putin at once I can take. But Greg Kelly himself is, this one's called Our Commander in Cheat Sheet. Greg Kelly. They're having a hard time finding footage from the Biden post-Putin summit presser to make him look bad. And so this is what they're trying, I think.
American presidents are capable of greatness. We've seen it throughout our history.
Yeah, well, except for the last 4 years, but sure.
And when it happens, you know it. You can feel it. Even things
Can you? Do you grope it? Do you squeeze it?
that happened before we were born.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. In the world of freedom, the proudest boast is, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Yes, I am a donut. I am a donut.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And then, of course, straight to...
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges. Michigan gave us Motang.
Great stuff. Great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I like...
People coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup.
We have that. It's as wide as it can be.
Stuff. Yeah. Great men. Kennedy.
Dude was assassinated on the job, you turd.
But where are we right now? Joe
Yosemite.
Biden on his first international trip. And we're not seeing greatness.
And I've said before, and I apologize to repeat, I just told you take a national security advisor. I'm leaving out a lot of people here. I apologize. I'm going to get in trouble. But anyway, we'll get back to that. But
this is not a great moment. So in a round table, so you're going to take prepared speeches where, people say stuff
and
like...
when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what?
Or like when they say...
very bad things are happening in Nicaragua.
Like that kind of stuff?
That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick. It's too heavy.
All that stuff.
There's a lot that is happening.
All right.
Well, get into the thought. Don't just take the gap, Greg. Play the rest of what he said, you coward.
Kind of sad. Did you get...
It's sad because you take that moment in the exchange out of context and you stop. And meanwhile, all I have to do is pull
wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife. Bags of soup. They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
Did you get all that? Of course not. Take a look. Let's try to get through this together. And I've said before, I apologize for the why didn't Jake Sullivan from the State Department. I'm leaving out a lot of people here. I apologize. I'm going to get in trouble. But anyway, we'll get back to that. But come on. This is, and look at his staff. Look at how they're looking at him. Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, staring right at him.
Yeah, not worried, just waiting for him to finish his thought, knowing he has a stutter. Sometimes he has to pick another word so they can get through the sentence the way it is. Just how that's how a stutter works. Should we watch a Don Jr. video?
I believe rather nervously, as in what's going to happen next. The woman on the left actually just staring straight ahead, wants to pretend none of this is happening.
Did you ask her as a reporter? Did you call her up? What were you thinking at that moment? Were you staring straight ahead, pretending it wasn't happening?
And actually, people are pretending that none of this is happening.
It's weird, Greg. It's almost like we can adapt and absorb, the fact that they're having, 8 hours a day of meetings and understand that if you take a sentence or a moment out of each one, you could make somebody look different. But the rest of us are just kind of going, but there's a lot of constructive stuff going on and it's all, it's all working out fine. Meanwhile,
the media especially.
Earlier today, President Biden again drawing a sharp contrast with former President Trump as he ended a 17-year-long trade war with Europe over airplane subsidies that will temporarily suspend tariffs on European luxury goods, including French wine, for American consumers.
We're reasserting the fact that it's overwhelming the interest of the United States of America to have a
great relationship with NATO and with the EU. I have a very different view than my predecessor did.
All right, can you speak up? You can't hear him above the cameras.
Dipshit, that's not his fault. That's where the mic is. Can you speak up? You can't hear him. You're not there, dummy. Greg, dude, all right. I knew there was an issue that he was going to jump on something. Yeah, Alicia, how is that Biden's fault? That's his complaint. Would you speak up, please? Some of us have really shitty seats. What? That's just because Newsmax is borrowing someone else's feed and they're not paying for it, so they're grabbing audio of the worst kind.
And I'm sorry, that's actually part of leadership. Maybe he's
part of leadership is understanding where each and every microphone is placed, and the ones that place them behind the camera line are what?
Wowing them behind closed doors, but part of leadership is the bearing, the command presence, making your voice heard.
Wait, the bearing, the Kakan presence? What was that again?
Part of leadership is the bearing, the command presence.
The Kakan presence. Yeah, that's true. I always thought in my leadership class in high school, they were always like, work on your Kakan presence.
Doors, but part of leadership is the bearing, the command presence.
Yeah, when you bear your can at people, the canned presence of bearing your can to people.
Making your voice heard. And he's not doing that. And
he's not doing that. It's weird. Maybe you're not doing that. Maybe, just maybe. And this might come from the fact that I know you guys at Newsmax as well as I do, having experienced many of your clips over the last year, that maybe you're picking the worst audio because you don't want to hear what's said. Because you're not picking the shotgun mic that everybody used. You're choosing one that sounds like shit, so you can make Greg's point for him.
Did you notice he's still talking about his predecessor? And this is planned.
Yeah, it's 3 months in, asshole. And this is his first meeting with the G7 since Trump. And there's a distinction between how he's doing this. We're not 3 years in, asshat.
And, they got a shot of his notes just before a few.
Trump abused power, Trump DOJ out of control, June 13th, 2021, President, okay, these are the Department of Justice talking points, okay? Now we have to clean it up, make clear DOJ reflect my values and principles, priorities, not Donald Trump's. They include respect for Congress as co-equal, yeah, okay. Points you want to hit? Sorry, was he supposed to write weird shit in Sharpie?
A few comments, and here it is. Let me tilt it for you so you can see. Somebody took this picture and look at his planned talking points. Sunday, June 13th, while he was in England, Trump abused power, Trump DOJ out of control. Now we have to clean it up. I've made it clear this DOJ will reflect my values and principles and priorities, not Donald Trump's. I mean,
that's so they could talk about stuff that happened with the DOJ here, because the news came out that Donald Trump and Bill Barr were spying on members of Congress and members of the press. How is that weird?
The guy is obsessed. You won the election, right? So take the ball and run with it. Why are you?
He is. He's in Europe. He took the ball all the way to Europe, Greg.
Focused on President Trump. And
because we just found out through leaked emails that he used the DOJ to spy on members of Congress. That's why. I mean, he wasn't going to just bring it up. That's why it says DOJ talking points across the top.
And you know what? You shouldn't be thinking about President Trump.
Yeah, and it's not Biden's hands, right?
How about Vladimir Putin, the killer you're going to have a meeting with tomorrow? And this guy literally is a killer. I mean it.
Yeah, I mean, this is all just from the pictures that Putin has sent to Greg's phone. We're literally looking at Greg Kelly's spank bank right now. Secondly, is that an airsoft gun? And Do you know how small Putin is? Do you know how small that fish would have to be? I'm fairly certain that's a Shetland pony now.
I think he's killed people with his own hands.
Careful not to chub, Greg.
KGB for all those years. Putin is going to
Pretty sure
be a tough adversary. Now,
Yeah, no, he wasn't actually. They had a normal kind of meeting. Biden's presser kicked. I mean, we had to bail on Putin's because it was fucking boring, and it was in a Ramada.
Said before, I hope Joe Biden mops the floor with this guy. I don't think it's going to happen, though.
Why? Do you think they're leg wrestling? It's diplomacy, dick smear.
Putin knows America. He's been studying America a lot. Take a look.
Yeah, he's read some books.
Did you order Alexei Navalny's assassination?
Of course not. We don't have this kind of habit of assassinating anybody. That's one. Number two
It's not a habit. It's I'm new to it or whatever. Secondly, I don't have to.
is I want to ask you, did you order the assassination of the woman who walked into the Congress and who was shot and killed by a policeman?
Wow.
Wow, what the fuck? You mean Ashley Babbitt? She charged through broken glass. It was on television. What the fuck kind of study do you mean? Alexei Navalny wasn't breaking through a glass door when he was gassed. And they drugged his food. How dare you, Greg Helly, compare those two things? Honestly, what kind of a fucking asshole? Where is this America First shit that they were bragging about? What are you talking about?
Pretty good question, right?
No, it's a stupid fucking question. There is absolutely no comparison to a bunch of people bashing through a door, a security officer who is protecting members of Congress as they're taken to safety, as thousands of people who have built a gallows and are screaming, hang Mike Pence, hang AOC, hang Nancy Pelosi, are charging into the room where those fucking people are. And the first one through the door gets a bullet because that's to stop the rest of them. And once one gets in, the pile gets in, and then people will die. They built a fucking gallows. And what's the comparison here? That Alexei Navalny was having a fucking salad, you goon? Christ almighty.
Did you? Not to that guy, but Ashley Babbitt. What about that?
What about it, fuckhead? Yeah, she's charging through a fucking window that's barricaded with furniture. Are you out of your goddamn mind? What's in her backpack? Did she have a gun? Did she have one of the pipe bombs that was being laid around? Is she magically Antifa? Was she... By the way, here's one for you, Greg, and maybe you could wrap your tiny little fucking brain around this. After she was shot... Do you believe if she was taken to the hospital and brought back from the hospital, she would be shot again?
He was shot, unarmed. What's going to happen when Joe...
How do you know she was unarmed? How do you know she was unarmed? She had a backpack with her. What was in it? You knew other people there had the means to build a gallows. You knew other people had weapons. You knew other people, there were pipe bombs around. Maybe that's not her job. Maybe her job isn't to shoot anybody. Maybe her job is to be one of the front people to get through and hold somebody until the rest of them show up to fucking shoot them. Are you out of your mind? Is that how this works? By the way, he wants you to think that all BLM protesters are pro-looters as well.
Joe gets asked about that.
Yeah, he'll go, are you, and he said that's a false equivalency. That's a fucking dumb question.
I don't think Joe can handle it.
Well, he did. You didn't. Let me get this completely straight. Greg Kelly, you cannot handle that question. How, I mean, for all the clamoring about Marxism and anti-American and un-American activities on the left that you clamor about day after day, this is singularly one of the most un-American things I've ever heard said on your channel. And that's saying a lot. Christ almighty. Why don't you just fly to Moscow and blow him? Just get it over with.
Now, usually after you meet with Putin, this has happened since 1999 or 2000, you meet with the press and the president. Bill Clinton did it in 2000. George W. Bush did it down in Crawford, I think. Let's see, Barack Obama had that, what they call a bilat. Donald Trump could handle it.
Yeah, but he got that guy elected, fucked with our elections, and then used this to puppet show that dickhead so he doesn't get another meeting. It's not automatic.
But what about Joe Biden? It's not going to happen. They've already announced no joint press conference with.
Right. And look how big, this looks like they're equal on the world stage. We're not. We have, during that press conference, Putin brings up that we have $28 billion worth of trade with Russia from America. $28 billion. We have $238 billion just with the UK. We have nearly $1 trillion with the EU. The fuck? Who cares about, honest to God, $28 billion for all the bullshit we have to deal with Russia? Why? What good is it? Who needs that money, that trade? There are lots of other countries where you can set up a company or build real estate or build a resort or something else that doesn't entail you involving yourself in this gangster kleptocracy.
With Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin.
I'm sorry, Rob, I missed that, but I'm sorry to hear that your wife is a mess. What's it related to? Sorry that I missed that. I just saw that going by in my chat.
Peter, has there been a final decision as to whether the two presidents will appear for questions after the meeting?
Lester, with the president saying that he's prepared to confront Vladimir Putin, we now know that he will not be doing it in public. The White House announcing that President Biden will not hold a joint news conference afterwards with Putin. Instead, he'll take questions alone. Lester?
Peter Alexander tonight. Thank you.
Dude, we know. Again, I don't know what the aha is here, but by the way, I guess NBC is a trusted source.
Moving right along. No, why not? How about the why? Who, what, when, where, why, and how in journalism, huh? Why not? Well, the answer is obvious, even to them, but they don't want to talk about it.
Really? What's the reason? Oh, right. That Putin is a murderer and is jailing his political dissidents and is a complete criminal and has $200 billion in net worth on a $146,000 state salary. And that standing on the same stage with him gives him unearned equivalence with the president of the United States. And there, as no longer being a member of the G8 and now making it the G7, Russia's standing in the world has lessened incredibly. And they effectively are simply, we're dealing with them in a lot of ways, in the ways we dealt with some of the Middle Eastern countries.
Because Joe Biden would be outclassed, and he can't do what his four predecessors did, have a joint press conference with Vladimir Putin.
Why? Why? You want who, what, where, when, and why there, Greg? Why? What has Vladimir Putin done to earn being on the same stage with the American president, besides having his hand up the ass of the last one?
Putin, he can't handle it. Vladimir Putin now has been at...
Look at this. Do you think there's a strata of importance here? Here we got all our presidential pictures, and then they're using one from him from 1999.
This for a very long time. Presidents just come and go, and he remains. 5 presidents. And for president...
And it's probably because he's awesome and a great leader, and honestly, maybe these guys could learn a little something from him, right, Greg? Holy shit, what is wrong with this asshole?
And 3 presidents so far. Actually, I'd like to make a recommendation. I think we should reevaluate this. Members of Congress can run for re-election until they die. Same for the Senate. Same for most governors. But presidents, we limit them to 2 terms. That wasn't always the case. George Washington set the precedent, but there was nothing constitutional until after FDR came along. And I guess, did he overstay his welcome? He was there from, 32 to 45 or so. Elected 4 times, and that was just too much. So they passed a constitutional amendment to say 2 terms max. Well, you know what? that potentially puts us at a disadvantage. Presidents come and go. Other leaders.
Dude, you're music to my ears, because if Obama could have run again, he'd have won again. And there would have been no Donald Trump, because in the 8 years after that Obama would have run for 2 more terms, Trump would have been withering at one of his golf clubs as he went broke.
Other leaders stay. Bureaucrats, the deep state stays. And that brings me to Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci has had that job for, I think, since the Carter administration at the National.
Yeah, he's not an elected official. He gets hired based on his qualifications.
National Institutes of Health. He has been there for a very, very long time. And now you'll know he's under fire. We're going through his emails, and he's very, very defensive. He may face an investigation into.
No, he won't.
How some of that grant money was spent at that Wuhan.
No, he won't.
Lab. But he's very defensive. And I think in his defensive.
Because he's being attacked and there's death threats against his family because of assholes like you. Why would anybody get defensive when their lives are being threatened?
It reveals that we all might be onto something.
It's very dangerous, Chuck, because a lot of what you're seeing as attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science. Because all of the things that I have spoken about consistently from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Sometimes those things were inconvenient truths for people, and there was pushback against me. So if you are trying to, get at me as a public health official and a scientist, you're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science.
Quite a statement, huh? Wow. Have you ever heard of a second opinion, doctor? We're allowed to get that. We want that, especially with you.
Yeah, Birx agreed with him, and so did everybody else at the NIH and the CDC. But I'm sure you have whatever that pro-Trump physicist who did his own poll.
You around, huh? If you attack me, by the way, Greg Kelly, you're not attacking the media. You're attacking.
Well, that's because you're on Newsmax, Greg. I mean, if you attack Greg, you are attacking little guys in little windows.
Attacking me, and that's fine. All right, Dr. Fauci, that's how it works, and not all scientists agree.
Well, yeah, but that's also because you're not the media by any stretch. I mean, nobody cares, Greg.
You just watch.
That was it. Oh my God. So, all right, back to where we were. I needed a break from this nonsense. Try to do this. Oh, and they block. Oh, this is the woman who was like, you didn't answer my question.
People who portray themselves as the non-systemic opposition. I think I've responded to your CNN colleagues. But I think these are the rules of the game, so I have to repeat it when I repeat it to your question. Okay, fine by me, I can do it. The United States has a law that spells out that the United States will support specific entities and organizations in Russia. At the same time, the Russian Federation was labeled as an adversary. They went on the record and said publicly that they will stymie the development of Russia. It begs the question, what kind of organizations the United States and the West will be supporting and pay them if we are an adversary? It's quite clear that, like the United States back in the 30s, we've labeled them as foreign agents, but we haven't banned them. I mean, they can operate, all right. If you're labeled...
Look, if you put ambassadors in our country and we put spies in yours, basically samey.
As a foreign agent, that does not preclude you from operating in the country. Well, if it's an extremist organization, that's a whole new story, whole different story. The organization is in question publicly has called for riots and public disorder. It has openly...
But I don't know enough Russian to know if the word for riot and the word for protest are the same.
Instructed people on how to make Molotov cocktails, so to use them against the law enforcement. It called.
And are there fewer sad things in this world that somehow you don't think Russians know how to make a Molotov cocktail? Honestly, we teach in grade school. In Mother Russia, Molotov throws you.
called for the participation of underage person in riots. America has just recently went through...
And we have a law that the only people allowed to riot legally are people 98 and above.
Well, grievous chain of events after a certain African-American individual was killed, and an entire movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, appeared. I'm not going to go into details.
I'm just going to make it the same but awful. But how dare you tell us when a cop is killed and your people rise up, and you know, if that was here, we would just put those people down.
Spare you them. But we've seen pogroms, we've seen, you know, looting and violations and riots. We sympathize with the Americans, but we do not want for the same thing to happen on the Russian soil, and we'll do...
Yeah, right. So what we do is we take our George Floyds and we put them in prison, and then we don't feed them, and then they get really hungry, and then they give them food that has poison in it. That way, it hasn't happened on the street.
Do anything possible to prevent this. And it's not about me fearing anything. If you want to think that, can you please give the mic?
You didn't answer my question. We've like this lady asked you, like, how does anybody trust you when you when you like Alexei Navalny is going to die in jail?
All right, about my opponents being jailed or imprisoned. People went into U.S. Congress with political demands. 400 people are now facing criminal charges.
Right.
They are...
Yeah, they broke into the Capitol, which is basically the same, if you think about it, as putting out a newsletter and eating a salad. So Alexei, and they're the same people.
Facing prison terms of up to 20, maybe 25 years. They are called homegrown terrorists. They are...
Yeah, but Alexei Navalny and his supporters didn't beat cops, didn't blind one, didn't have one's thumb torn off, didn't tase one.
Being accused of many other things. 70 people were arrested right there on the spot. 30 of them are still arrested. On what grounds? Not quite clear.
On what grounds? Yeah, trespassing, for starters. Violent insurrection has a lot. I mean, there's a lot of charges in there. You know, you could see there's video of them beating cops with Blue Lives Matter flags. If it's not quite clear, maybe it's because your Russian TV set is shit, man.
I mean, none of the official authorities from the states are informing us about it, so we don't know that. One of the participants, a woman, was shot dead on the spot. She was not threatening with, with arms or anything.
Sorry, I'm just adding those because I'm bored.
Why am I bringing this up? Many people...
Yeah, why are you bringing it up? So Ashley Babbitt, who was part of a large group that had built a gallows and was screaming, "Hang Mike Pence," breaking through a door that was barricaded with furniture while members of Congress were being moved to safety. She was the first person to breach it through. Basically the same thing as getting poisoned, going to Germany, and taking a flight back.
People are facing the same things as we do. And I am stressing this. We are sympathizing.
Yeah, no, Alexei Navalny was not in the process of breaching a Capitol.
With the United States, but we do not want the same thing repeating here. A couple more questions, please.
A couple more questions where I can shit on democracy and pretend that what happens in democracy is worse than what happens in Russia. I mean, the greatest thing about Russian gun violence is one phone call, it stays off TV.
Good day, Dmitry Laru, Izvestia newspaper. Did you manage to agree with the U.S. side on the return of certain Russian citizens that are jailed in U.S. prisons? And if it is the case, when could it happen? Indeed, we brought this up, and President Biden brought this up with regard to U.S. citizens that are currently in Russian prisons, and we discussed this. There could be some ground for compromise. Russian Foreign Ministry and the U.S.
Yes, we have 2 of their people. They have 19 of ours. I think that's a fair trade.
State Department will work in this direction. Russia TV channel, the recapping question. Good day, Mikhail Antonov, Russia 1 TV channel. You said that you discussed trade with President Biden. Maybe that's one of the positive points.
Yeah, sure. Trade with Russia. You know, all those great Russian toasters and washing machines and flat screens. And if you haven't tried one of the Russian phones, I mean, come on, man.
Business communities seek cooperation from both sides. What are the prospects for cooperation? Well, that doesn't depend on us, but rather on the US side. We do not impose any restrictions. I believe that after imposing
because we can't afford to
certain restrictions in economy, the US lost as much as Russia. Indeed, it somehow affected our development to a certain extent. And to a certain extent,
Yeah, American tariffs, because you were murdering people worldwide, are the reasons your economy didn't grow. It's our fault. If we'd have just been able to look past that.
And the US implemented their goal of deterring Russia and in its development, but there's nothing.
Yes, it is true, chat room. Putin does look like RoboCop without his helmet a little bit.
Quite important.
But the claymation version.
Here. Second thing, the important and the interest of the US business community. The US had the biggest delegation at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, 200 persons. As for restrictions...
Oh, when was that? What group of people showed up for that thing?
Against the US companies, some US companies lost in Russia, and they gave this business to their rivals. What for? It's pointless, but they still...
Yeah, Americans went, I'm not going to fucking build anything here or invest money here. It'll just go up this dude's nose.
Still have losses. Our trade with the US amounted to some 28 billion USD, but in the first quarter of this year, it grew by 16%. I believe that if this trend persists, it will benefit everybody.
Yes.
And we talked
clearly.
about this.
Yeah, $28 billion. Chicken shit money. Seriously. We have like a $27 trillion economy. We got to put up with all this bullshit from these assholes for $28 billion? Are you kidding me? Why? For what? It's all, the only thing that's happening as far as investment worldwide in Russia is real estate, you know, like towers for assholes like Donald Trump to, you know, have somebody pee on the beds, or oil and gas pipelines. What else? What? Aerospace? Are you going to get in a Russian plane anytime soon? Get out of here. Yeah, weapons, right.
You know what? I'll have a couple of questions from this side and a couple of questions on the other side. Yeah, a lady. Please give the floor to the lady. She will rock my world here.
What? She will rock my world here. I don't know what question she's asking him, but it's gonna rock his world.
A couple of years ago, you met President Biden when he was vice president, and he said that he looked into your eyes and he didn't see a soul there, and you said, well, that means that we understand each other. Could you please say...
explain to everyone here how you meant that he was right.
Did you look into his eyes, and what did you see here? Did you see a person that you can work with? And please...
I'm a big fan of the trolls that seem to be showing up in like YouTube and Facebook and stuff that are defending Trump during a press conference about Putin. If anything points out the fact that most of these folks are pro-Putin trolls that that pretended to support Trump during his presidency just to inflate this stooge while Putin was pulling his strings, I don't think there's a better example of it than there. I mean, fairly hilarious. So it's good stuff.
Please tell me, has President Biden invited you to the White House? And if that is the case, did you agree to go there?
This lady is going to rock my world with a question that we put in on purpose.
Well, President Biden did not invite me, and I haven't made the relevant invitation myself. I believe that for such meetings and for such visits to happen, there should be conditions that should be ripe. As for looking to the eyes...
Yeah, that's what it is. He just wants to make sure it's right for him before Biden invites him, because he's not.
And seeing a soul or not seeing anything, it's not the first time that I hear that. To be honest,
I hear it all the time. Anytime I'm at the buffet, people, like I was there and this fisherman standing there and he was like a doll's eyes about me. And I was like, what does that even mean?
I don't remember such conversation, but I assume that it could have happened. If you
I suppose if someone wanted to pretend.
Ask me what kind of a person and interlocutor President Biden is, I can say that he is a constructive person, well-balanced and experienced, seasoned politician, and I expected that. He recalled his family.
Sorry, it's very hard for me to talk about families since I came from a dragon's egg.
And conversations he had with his mother. Well, these things don't have directly something to do with our business, but nevertheless, it shows his qualities and his moral values. It is all appealing, and I believe that we spoke the same language. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to look into the eyes and see the soul and
guess what really is a soul?
To pledge eternal love. We defend the national interests of our countries, and this relationship are always based on pragmatism.
Yes, pragmatically, who needs a soul, really? I mean, on the practical level.
Andrei, please, you have the floor. Andrei Kolesnikov, Kommersant newspaper. Mr. President, following this meeting, did you have any illusions, any new illusions? Well, I didn't have any old illusions, let alone new ones. There have been no illusions whatsoever.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we cleared that up. What?
Let's move to this side. At the back of the hall, please give the mic, and the lady will decide for herself. Good day, Pavel Rybnyov, Zvezda TV channel. Mr. President, I have two questions, if I may.
Please don't shoot.
Regarding global climate change, have you discussed this with President Biden? And the second question regarding American media outlets. Recently, you gave a big interview to the NBC channel. Is it fair that you give an interview to American media outlets, whereas American presidents do not give any interviews to our media outlets? And
yeah, I mean, it's not because like ABC, for example, has like his stations all over the world and has a reach of hundreds of millions of people and sort of a guarantee of quality. Why can't they show up for our podcast level productions in some shithole and a studio office in either on the west side of New York or something like that? So we'll rent something. But why don't they come and do interviews with? Why doesn't the president do local interviews?
And do you see a positive impact of this interview if your words are always distorted and if you are treated not in a very respectable way? Well, with regard to distortions and some misinterpretations, Well, that is the practice of international relations here, and there is nothing to do about it here. I got accustomed to this. We've been living with it for decades.
You know, fake news being what it is. Don't forget to give a like and a thumbs up. If you hate the show, don't forget to give a thumbs down and leave some sort of comment, because it inflates us in the algorithm and helps us out. Because all of these platforms we're on, from Twitch to Facebook to YouTube or Twitter, they don't care whether you like me or not. They just want your eyeballs here. So thanks for sticking around. I'm talking to the trolls right now, just for the record.
As for the interviews and who gives these interviews, that's up to the leaders to decide. If he wants to send a message to the people, we try to
we really appreciate if you come in and let us edit for you.
to do that, and that's exactly the essence of my interviews to the American media outlets. As for the
Because they are trustworthy, and no asshole would go on RT with half a brain.
activities
Unless it was me, because I tell them exactly what I want them to have me say.
of our media
Whether I said it or not.
outlets, for instance, President Biden raised the issue on the work and on the work of Radio Freedom Europe that we declared as foreign agents. Well, I got an impression that members of the US delegation were not aware that before that, well, we actually have two media outlets that are broadcasting for foreign audience. That's RT and Sputnik. And before that, the US...
It's like the opposite. It's like Radio Free Europe, except without the Europe and the free part. It's basically the same thing, though.
declared them as foreign agents, and they deprived them of their accreditation. So what we did was retaliation, and at the same time, Russia Today abides by all requirements of the US regulator. It is registered in this way, although they face some problems with regards to hiring of personnel and financial transactions, but we don't. They don't.
Yeah, it's one. Like, we've been trying to find ways we could suck money out of the American market using front organizations like RT. And they put corks in all the holes. It's really a pain in the ass,
have such
man.
problems, but the U.S. Media outlets do not abide by the Russian law. We spread the word on our opinion, and we hope that we'll be able to work
Let me do one more question, and then we can bring out Lee Camp.
at the level of foreign ministries in this matter. Well, I actually wanted a lady to ask a question. Thanks a lot. Galina Polonska, could you please speak up? Galina Polonska, Euronews.
Yeah, speak up. Greg Kelly can't hear you.
We all knew how you shook hands with Joe Biden at the very beginning. Have you managed to reach a new level of mutual understanding and confidence? Do you believe it is realistic at this stage to reach a new level of relationship that would be totally clear, transparent? That is the ultimate goal of two countries. Lev Tolstoy once said, there's no happiness in life, there's just a glimpse of happiness, and do cherish it. I believe that here they...
What? And by the way, they said specter in the other translation. There is no happiness in life, just the specter of happiness.
There can be no confidence and ultimate confidence, but I see that we've seen some glimpse of this confidence.
We don't have any there's no happiness in life, just glimpse of happiness. Like, there is no confidence in life, there's only glimpse of confidence. I started out as motivational speaker for KGB.
Yes, please.
Yes, misery is natural state. That's why Russia is so successful. If you ever see a Russian's face, everyone is frowning and sort of afraid and stuff. And this is a man that is most natural. Yes, there is not the abyss. You can only stare into the abyss.
I have a mic, but you want the second one. Well, this one is not plugged in. Ivan Blagoy first channel. COVID-19 is one of the key subjects here. Have you brought it up during your meeting with the US president? And
I have a question. So we've all had Sputnik vaccine, and besides the weird boils on our backs and buttocks and the inflation of our feet and the weird hacking noise that you make with your throat, when should we expect to be immune so we can not wear masks?
And if that is the case, what are the prospects of joint work with the US colleagues to overcome the pandemic? Maybe we could talk about mutual recognition of vaccines. Well, we brought this up, but just briefly, in passing. You know that in the times of the previous US administration, we accommodated the US request and we sent our equipment as part of humanitarian assistance.
Yeah, it was great.
It's not that they run off of money, it's just that at that point in time, they were in dire need of ventilators. We have done it selflessly and we are ready to such kind of cooperation, but we haven't discussed this in detail. After the meeting with President Trump, relationship has deteriorated between our two countries. Are there any factors that would tell that this will not be the case today?
I don't know. I mean, what relationship? I mean, it's like, what really is the relationship between Charlie McCarthy and
the relationship
with we had kind of, Trump and I had sort of a Waylon Flowers and Madam kind of a relationship, you know?
Reached rock bottom.
I'm like the international Jeff Dunham, and he is a hot dog on a stick.
Well,
or whatever, pepper, or whatever that is.
I can say all the actions related to the deterioration of Russia-US relations were initiated by the US, not Russia. Congressmen are quite inventive, and I do not know what they will invent further on. Yes, please.
I'm almost done with this nonsense, by the way. How y'all doing, man? I'm glad to be here. Come on. Now, I got a couple questions about farm implements.
Alexander Gamov, Komsomolskaya Pravda. Did you know that our team has won the Finnish team 1-0? Well, congratulations. If we take the same assessment,
it's a jalapeno. Okay, yeah.
Same scale to the Putin-Biden meeting. What's the score? Who won? Okay, in the second part of the question, before coming to Geneva, Americans were saying we're gonna exert pressure on Putin. Have you felt this pressure, and how have you stood up to it? I think the entire Russia is now thinking how our president is doing up there. I think.
Yeah, how is our president doing out there?
It's plenty. Yeah, I think so too. More than enough. No pressure at all. It was a frank and candid conversation without, without going on a tangent from the set agenda. Like I said.
A set agenda. So these questions are organized beforehand? Good to know.
Neither us nor United States have tried to exert any pressure. But this was not the point of the meeting. And the score? Okay, the score. Well, I think before we met President Biden that this is not a competition event. And I fully dovetail with him. Are we going to really set the score? This was a productive meeting. It was fruitful. It was
fruitful of a country that has a $27 trillion economy, and we've got like we're a little bit less than California, like one of their states. And if they didn't need us for space travel, they'd forget we existed for decades at a time.
To the point.
So it was really good.
And it took place in an atmosphere that was actually enabling to create, to accomplish something. And the most important thing is the glimpses of confidence and hope that we had.
Yes, glimpses, because that's all you have in life.
BBC News, please.
I've got a question for you, if I might.
Joe Biden calls for a stable and predictable relationship with Russia. However, the West believes that unpredictability is an inherent trait of the Russian policy. Are you ready to forego instability in order to improve the relationship with the West? Well, quite a compilator. It was difficult to follow the logic. I'm really envious. I mean, it's like a contradiction of terms. You said the West believes, and then the second part. Are you ready to forego this? Well, if the West believes this, that doesn't mean that this is the objective truth. So let me address your question in parts to dissect.
Great.
You said that the West believes that Russian policy is unpredictable. Well, let me reciprocate. The U.S.
and say, have you seen who the president was the last 4 years?
Withdrawal from the ABM treaty in 2002 was unpredictable. Why would they do that and disrupt and undermine the basis of
in 2002 because you weren't participating in it?
Of the strategic stability. Then the INF treaty withdrawal in 2019. Is that what you call stability? The open sky.
So Bush and Trump. So Republican policy is unpredictable and a pain in the ass. But okay, there we go.
Agreement withdrawal. But is that what you call stability? There's almost nothing.
No, again, last 4 years.
Nothing to almost
as an anomaly.
There's no legs to stand upon. Well, thankfully, the START treaty was saved, and I'm grateful that President Biden has made a wise decision to extend the new START treaty for 5 years. Now, take the situation in and around Ukraine, the Crimea. This was where it all started, right? Okay, let me...
Yeah, so we had a treaty, and we stopped participating in the treaty, but we didn't invade Russia. The Russians invaded Crimea. That would, I mean, on the scale of surprise activities.
Let me plant a question. What was stable about supporting
Mr. Putin? Where are you keeping Melania?
And
she has been called home for deprogramming. We have to debrief her, and then she needs, of course, a good cleaning before we, peel her skin off and replace it with a new one. She's one of our highest level bots, and she really did good work.
A coup d'etat, an uprising in Ukraine. I mean, the President Yanukovych was ready to announce new elections. He agreed with all the demands. No, it wouldn't work. You'd have to go with the coup, the ramifications that followed, the Crimea, the east of Ukraine. And you're saying that we are seeking the instability?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. In my mind,
you materially attack the country.
And we see it differently. We don't think in these terms. We think that we are trying to create stability, but for the situation.
Yes, and we really only have a stable Russia if we have all of our territories back.
To be stable, we need an agreed set rules of
Melania is with Mary Miskovich.
Conduct across all areas, the strategic stability, the cybersecurity, the regional conflicts. I think that we can agree on these things, and I have an impression that we can agree.
Might be the last question,
Let us
I think.
draw this to wrap it up. I'm sorry, can't hear. Speak to the mic, please. To the mic, please.
Yeah, who do you think I am? Greg Kelly? I don't have ears like that.
What? Blue Fog, the popular tunes? Let's do something, speak something intelligible and reasonable. Bloomberg, please. And we'll wrap it up then. Final question to the lady.
It's not the lady.
Bloomberg News, Ilya Arkivov. In 2016, after you met Trump, a new set of American sanctions was quickly imposed. What about this round of negotiations? Have you got any assurances that there will be no new sanctions in the near term coming from the United States? And then you said about the glimpses of hope. Do you have any ideas on how feasible it is to expect that President Biden would be able to deliver, to follow through on the promises? I mean, it's believed that the American political apparatus is actually showing more solidarity with President Biden than it showed during President Trump's presidency. So, all right, you've agreed on consultations on cybersecurity, on Ukraine. Do you think there will be any working groups established? Do you think any red lines will be respected? Can you describe something? I think I've spoke about the red lines at length. You see, the understanding and confidence in this is created. It stems from negotiations. There's no reason to meet each other and threaten and to exchange, trade verbal attacks. That's not the point. The restrictions, the sanctions is something I've brought up already. We don't know what's brewing in the American political apparatus.
We just know what we're going to do and how they'll probably respond.
I mean, we know the broad strokes, the currents, but we don't know the details. There are probably opponents and proponents of developing better relations with Russia. Who will prevail? It's difficult to say. Hope.
It is hard to find the most gullible American Republican, but we feel like Ron Johnson is really he's the guy we're teeing up for next time.
Steps will be taken.
What does America need from Russia? Excellent question.
After this summit. Well, hopefully, one might think so, but it would only mean a missed opportunity if it happens. And the final question to a journalist from Canada.
She says that I have a question from my 9-year-old. Like, why is this summit important, and why don't you let people protest in your country? Was the question that he gets with. He's like, all right, gone.
Раз, два, три, четыре. Есть перевод? Русский перевод. Русский перевод.
I can't hear her in Russian. I can't. Can somebody feed what she said to me in my ear? And then they're reading it to him in their ear, and then he starts responding.
Раз, два, три, четыре, пять.
I didn't really hear it. This uncomfortable BS question. This one's not working. So give me a really, This is fine Russian technology. I don't know if you know this, but our translation devices are some of the best in the world. You only need 3 of them for one press conference. Russian batteries are amazing. He may speak English. Doesn't mean he understands it, if you know what I mean. But that was the question that she was asking. This dude is totally checking his likes now. Thanks, Jay. Why don't you? Her 9-year-old asks why you can't protest in his country, and why is the summit even important? Which is a good question.
Well, it's a great thing that your 9-year-old is actually interested in these things, and the answer is pretty simple. You've got to look.
We need the money.
Look around and just see. Think to yourself, it's a wonderful world.
That's right. I mean, this is my. What is he gonna? And I think to myself, it's a wonderful world. If you look around, say trees of green, clouds of white.
I mean, the grown-ups, these adults, leaders of 2 major countries,
one major country.
Major nuclear countries are meeting.
Yeah, definitely 2 major nuclear countries, not 2 major countries, though.
To try to make this world a safer place, a secure place, a prospering place to live for many people from across the globe. They will discuss the stuff about the horrible weapons that can kill us all, that has to be...
Yes, tell your 9-year-old about the horrible weapons that can kill us all.
Somehow prevented from. They will discuss nature.
Yes, pretty flowers and things.
How to make rivers clean. how to make seas clean, how to stop floods and droughts, how to make sure everybody has plenty of food to eat for anyone in the globe.
That's what Russia's always been about.
What else will they discuss? They will discuss health and medicine so that when kids grow up, they will be healthy.
So that they can experience their misery fully.
They can study and have a bright future, and I wish...
Yes, I wish every child could be well fed, have plenty of medicine so they could live a long and miserable life.
Very much. So this meeting will be covered with these ideas in mind.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to leave on a high note. I think I really killed him with the whole, like, flowers part. This is the... And that's it. Look at that. Look at all the Russian media folks rushing out when they're done. Like, just hitting it. All the Americans and everybody else are like, all right, we'll do our little piece here and whatever. The rest of them are like, did I do okay? Did I do okay? Am I okay? Did I do okay? Oh, God. That was dull. And we're supposed to, by the way, I suppose we're supposed to expect that, you know, that somehow this is going to have an, you know, obviously the Greg Kellys of the world will be very excited to, you know, go through this tomorrow and just, you know, ruminate on how bold and interesting he was. And there's tons to do today, and I have 4 minutes left, and there's just no way to get through as much of it. So I will add more of it tomorrow. But apparently, let's do this one little take on this because I don't think this one's very long. So this is a reporter goes up to Mike Lindell, and he beg your pardon. Let's see if I can get this over here. Whoop. He goes up to Mike Lindell and asks some questions, and according to Steve Bannon, Mike just nails him.
And we're supposed to be let you people like you destroy us and take away our voices? Fox isn't here. Shame on Fox. Nobody's here. You see CNN, Fox, or any of them here to talk about?
Nope.
About anything?
People, I don't know why Mike Lindell. Tell him, how come Fox isn't there? It's a shame.
Doesn't anybody care? Have you watched Absolute?
Yes, tomorrow is Thursday, so yes, we will be starting early tomorrow. Before I was starting an hour later on Thursdays. Now I think it's going to start an hour earlier. So I think 2 o'clock, if that works for everybody, tomorrow, as a straight up, right after, just watch Deadline White House and then come on over. I think that's Jordan Klepper. Okay.
Absolutely 9-0. You didn't even bother to watch it.
Absolute 9-0. You didn't even bother to watch it. Mike, Frank, I did. I watched it. It was complete shit.
You wouldn't be talking so smart if you watched it.
Mike, I've watched it. Well, I mean, I've watched it, and I don't know that you're going to find a point that differs with what he's talking about.
All of your pillow commercials.
No, what does that have to... No, you're not. You're being a jokester now. You're being real funny. Shame on you what you've done to our country by you saying stuff like that. This has nothing to do with the pillow. This is... You should have watched Absolute Proof, Absolute Interference, Scientific Proof, and absolutely 9-0. I would expect you, if you had what I had, that you would be a patriot and go out there and speak out with it.
I'll tell you this. I didn't watch your movies, but I was there on January 6th.
What, January 6th? I wasn't there. I'm glad you were there. Were you part of that?
I was documenting it.
Okay, good for you. I wasn't there. What does this have to do with January 6th?
You were pre-planning for the next one, which is in August.
What are you talking about? I got this evidence on January 9th. The evidence I got to save our country that the Democrats warned about. We have cyber evidence. Don't you care? Don't you care that your country's attacked to get the China, the CC?
This is working out very well for Mike.
He was behind us. You got to watch the movie. You go, wow, Mike, this is amazing.
I got to get through this.
That's what he'll do. Just like he'll have the same reaction. Jordan will have the same reaction that the Supreme Court will. They'll obviously just all of it. Their response will be,
wow, what? Wow, 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 wow.
You know,
this mayor of Easttown or what have you. I want to get to it. I love it. I'm excited. Did you not have HBO Max? You're the most connected man in the world. Can't
what? I don't watch TV. I spend my time trying to go out there and evangelize and bring people. We're in the greatest revival in history to bring our country once again back to one nation under God.
It feels like right now, at some point, are you doing more good or more harm?
How am I doing harm? What are you talking about? You mean all the stores that have canceled my pillow? Is that what you're talking about? Twitter, all the people in this country where now all of a sudden.
The wind is a nice touch. Jesus.
Here is a senator from the state of Wisconsin.
God damn.
And he gets canceled out for 7 days because all he did was say what they're saying.
That is super loud. Jesus. Sorry. Hold on one second. I mean, I can't imagine if the Daily Show actually ended up with any usable footage.
Chloroquine work. Wow.
People who work and try to count votes, work in our electoral process, are threatened for doing their job.
This has nothing to do with them counting.
There are people.
The machines have nothing to do with that. These machines, these attacks. Why aren't you interviewing Dominion? Are you afraid to say Dominion?
What Dominion? I'll say Dominion.
Dominion. How come you, as a journalist, how come your show hasn't went to Dominion and said Dominion? Now let me tell you something.
I went down to Arizona.
If they put rocks and knives in my pillow, if all you out there.
Oh, this is the rocks and knives
I've heard this
analogy.
spiel. You did it on Kimmel.
Right. Then why did Dominion say when instead of suing people over 200 lawsuits and threats, bad threats? Let me tell you. I mean, now you won't.
How much are they suing you for?
Oh, you mean me suing them or them suing me?
How much are they suing you for?
1.3 billion. And they went after my pillow. Who had
Is this
nothing
just
to
sort
do
of
with
like a spending spree, like a Brewster's Millions situation, where you just got to get rid of all you have before they come and take it all?
But who does? The bad people like Dominion or you or what?
I'm not coming for it.
Well, what are you doing here? You're trying to mock me?
I want to try one of the pillows. I can't sit through Tucker all night. I want to try a pillow.
You won't print that, right? They're sarcastic. Right, yeah. Use promo code DAILY.
Yeah, he will not print that.
Show, right? Huh?
I'll print the sarcastic stuff. That's the stuff that.
Honestly, though, there are people being threatened because they continuously hear that this was a fraudulent election, and all of the evidence is shot down. People like the Republican Secretary of State is afraid for his life.
You talking about Brad Rassenberger?
Yes.
Brad Rassenberger and Brian Kemp were in on this. Are you kidding? They're as compromised as they come.
Okay, so
are you kidding me? Doug Ducey, these guys, you guys got to
compromise.
Yeah, please, by the way, I would never interrupt him while he was going off on other Republicans.
Then why are they
why are these Republicans compromised?
I don't know. Ask them.
I'm
Ask
asking
Brian
you
Kemp
because you apparently are the one that...
No, you need to understand. That's a deviation. Why wouldn't you guys, when I was kicked out...
Do you either want to be the guy everybody comes to or not the guy everybody comes to? Because you have answers for being the guy that the cyberpunks come to.
Why were they compromised?
You have no other answers.
I don't know. Brian Kemp bought $107 million worth of Dominion machine in 2019. Why did Brian Kemp... Why
it's happening inside the party.
What?
It's happening inside the party.
It could be any party. Are you kidding me? You got those two governors, Brian Kemp and Doug Ducey. Both of them have been the biggest obstructionists to look. Why would they say, hey, let's look at the machine, let's look at it back then? Why didn't anybody say, let's do an audit, then get it behind us?
Well, why is it benefiting them?
No, why didn't they do that back then? I don't know. Why didn't they do it now? Why are they trying to stop Maricopa? Do you know Maricopa's almost done? When that comes...
Yeah, Maricopa's totally almost done, guys. And then once the hand count is done, they're going to check all the paper. That'll probably be mid-September. And then right after that, Trump's going to be president again.
The cyber evidence I had is going to match directly.
Are you funding that recount?
No, I'm not funding that recount.
You haven't given any money to that recount?
No, I have not. But so you can't really get me on that, can you?
I think Dominion's going to give you
I have my own. You
have your own what?
I have my own investigators. I already have the cyber evidence. Whatever people did out there during December and November, they didn't have this. They didn't have it.
Oh my God. And by the way, what he's referencing, in case you haven't watched my takedown of all of his movies, I've done all of them. You're welcome. It was hell, but we got through all of them. What he's talking about is this software demo he's been sold by these people who are fleecing him for money. And he thinks that this like backdated software, like the coding stuff, they're like, look at all the flashy numbers. He's bought it hook, line, and sinker, and he thinks it's real.
Yeah, so you're going to see that next month. You're going to see it, the cyber symposium. You can apologize then.
Here's the deal. I've come to your event. I talk to a lot of people, and they believe you. They care about you. They love your story. And I know you say you're a freedom fighter, but I also hear stories
Freedom fighter? Who said that? What are you talking about?
You know what? Okay, what
Is that what I said?
I don't know.
No. I said I'm an American. I come from the American dream will be gone. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican.
Yes, but
I have 2,500 employees. They all have families. They all have jobs. They're all people here in our country. I have something that's evidence that our country was by a foreign country, China, coming in. I don't care if they're a Democrat or Republican. I don't care if Donald Trump would have been in. I would still be sounding the alarm. And you're not going to give me the respect for that? What if I have exactly what I'm telling you I have, because you haven't watched the movie? What do you say?
It's in the movies.
Then what would you say to that?
If you have all of these things, I'd be
if I have
really
everything I'm telling you, what would you do? What would you say, Mike? Don't talk about it?
You've been peddling this for months now, and you've been constantly carrying water for Donald Trump. And
I'm not carrying water for Donald Trump. Why would you say something like that?
Early December.
He's wrapping up.
Yeah.
One more minute. So I just need to know what if it does not turn out.
Okay, no, I'm coming right now.
August does not happen. What do you say to these people?
If August doesn't happen, what do you say to these
then the states are going to all pull it down because they're doing audits in every state. Pennsylvania.
Yeah, if it doesn't happen by August, it'll definitely, each of the individual states will spend the next year and a half leading into 2022 telling Republicans that you can't trust the elections. Oh, man.
Here in Wisconsin, Maricopa will get done. Everywhere they've done an audit, like in New Hampshire, every place that we've done audits that we've done, the machines, it's the same thing, everyone.
So there's a plan. It's like watching that Bigfoot show. They don't find Bigfoot at the end, but if you tune in next week, maybe it's going to happen.
Good one.
Thank you.
All right. Good.
You guys are horrible.
Oh.
You guys are horrible people.
That's being kind. No, that's being kind. Fake news.
Oh, Steve Bannon's taking it very seriously. You can't attack Mike Lindell's credibility because Steve Bannon is leeching off of Mike Lindell until the absolute last day. So you can't say if Mike Lindell has 5 months of credibility left and 6 months of money, what Bannon's job is to extend that credibility another month so he can have all of his money. Think of, I don't know, how do we put this? Think of Mike Lindell as a border wall charity. See what I'm saying? And Steve Bannon is worried that people like The Daily Show or myself or others will shorten the window of credibility that Mike Lindell doesn't actually have, but perceived credibility with this certain crowd, smaller and smaller, so that he won't buy ads on there or on Newsmax or OAN, where he's almost single-handedly financing these networks. Because that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, this is very illustrative. I'm going to put this in live chat. I want everybody to share this today. This is the type of wise guys. You see what happens right there?
It's the Daily Show, dicks. I don't understand. What do you expect? It's the Daily Show.
That's the Daily Show. Trevor Noah, you're a clown. Okay,
it's on Comedy Central.
Everybody knows you're a clown, but I mean your staff over there, it's not serious. Okay.
It's the Daily Show.
Okay, it's not serious.
They may not be serious, but you, Steve Bannon, are inserious. You are insincere. You are a grifter. You know full well that Mike Lindell is nuts, completely full of shit, and is hemorrhaging money. And you are just there with a bucket under the guy's belly. The Daily Show is doing the Daily Show thing. You, on the other hand, are printing, I guess, I don't know how the network itself pays for wherever it reaches or whether it does or not, because you're on Real America, whatever the network is. Real America's Voice carries it. Jesus. In some AM channels, it's another Heritage Foundation outreach, ad campaign. And what is this? An ongoing live feed of the Arizona election audit as it dies a slow death. But you have to have that up because that's what gives Mike Lindell the false belief that you actually believe him and support him. So he'll keep buying ads on your stupid fucking show.
And Mike, I do have to talk to you about it because listen, Mike Lindell's such a good man and so
he's a
trusting.
Trusting? You mean gullible?
Right? I got to talk to the comm staff. You got to do a better screening job. They should have been forced to watch the movies and staff talk to them before they come on. They're pure wise guys.
How about this? I've watched all of them. I'll talk to you, and I'll have the same goddamn questions he did. It doesn't make a difference. Lindell's stuff is garbage. It's garbage. He is being it's like watching a sow walking around with piglets on its tits.
But it's great for the audience to see what really happens when these interviews take place. These are hit jobs. Those guys are assassins.
It's the Daily Show. Assassins.
And remember, part of
if assassins were there to tickle
their power, what they try to do is, and Saul Alinsky said this, mock and ridicule him.
Yeah, but that in their defense, he's low-hanging fruit, and so are you.
Right. Remember, the French Revolution was a big thing, is taking the aristocracy, right, when the revolutions were there, and putting the red hat on them, the cap of liberty, the liberty cap.
Yes, and that was a good thing in that regard, because they were a monarchy and anti-liberty and would kill peasants with wanton disregard for human life. So, but we're not supposed to make fun of those people. That's over the line, Steve.
In Mao's China, the Red Guards put the dunce cap. Get the teacher and put the dunce cap on him. Get the parents and put the dunce cap on and mock them. It's mockery.
Yeah, that's what this is. You don't actually. Why? Here, my problem is, why would I ever take you seriously? What about either of these men should I take seriously?
Weapon is mockery. I got news for you, Trevor Noah.
Well, apparently, it's a better. I would rather have mockery as a weapon than like a bunch of assholes who build a gallows on the Capitol grounds.
All these guys there is that Mike Lindell
is fucking nuts.
An incredibly smart guy.
No, he isn't.
The way he's going about this is very smart. Here's what the left's fearing right now, and this is why they're saying their new thing is that.
Okay, later. Tell us. I'm allegedly left, so therefore. Yeah.
All these workers are now under assault. Where are they under assault? We're getting to the bottom of one of the biggest.
They are being threatened. They are receiving death threats. That's what they're talking about. That was the question. We all heard it. You played the clip. I'm not going on other stuff I know that you didn't present. Steve Bannon, you played the clip. You've seen it twice. You saw it before you aired it, and you saw it when you aired it. You were watching it the same time we were. What they said was absolutely true.
Scandals in the history of the nation, in the history of the free world. And Mike Lindell, as nice as he is, and as pleasant as he is, and as open as he is,
and as gullible and stupid and easily dragged around by his nose as he is.
He's got a core of iron and steel.
No, he's just a lunatic. I mean, you could say the same thing about the rigidity of someone's belief that they're Napoleon Bonaparte.
You're not going to back him off. He's already looked at death in the face, in the abyss of drugs and gambling and depression.
What? Looked at death, stared death in the face as an addict? No, he didn't. He didn't have a JoJo Dancer moment where he died and was brought back to life. The fuck are you talking about? He was a carpet farming rich asshole.
Depravity, right? When he was nothing, and the Lord saved him and God saved him to use him as an instrument. And right there, you're seeing.
And by the way, Bannon is you're watching Steve Bannon manipulate Mike Lindell right now to his face.
The instrumentality. And you see how the modernists, they can't handle it. They got to have this wise guy snarky thing.
It's the Daily Show.
Line up people on our side of the football, and that's where we're going to win. Everybody take a deep breath. Just get focused. Just get focused. We're going to win this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, especially since the other side is bringing mockery, and you guys are stampeding into places and tasing cops till they have a heart attack. Is that what you're saying? That's the balance. So if we bring mockery, what they're going to bring is assault weapons and torches. What the fuck?
Because that's the opposition. The soy boys. You think they're going to defeat us?
I'm sorry, soy boys? You mean New York stand-up comics that are hired by the Daily Show? You literally look like you're made out of old tofu.
That's what's going to defeat us. The wise guys sit there, mock and ridicule.
Yes. Yes. That's one of the ways you show the emperor has no clothes. You are ridiculous. Therefore, ridicule is your Achilles heel.
Mike Lindell, and Mike Lindell's got the receipts. Mike.
Yeah, I'm certain he has the receipts for all the money that he's been grifted out of by you and Brandon House and everybody who had him build that stupid fucking studio and sit there and yammer about that demo of software he
Mike,
saw.
we got about 2 minutes. You take it from here. That thing,
yeah, tell him, Mike.
It's explosive. We scooped The Daily Show. I'm so glad you did it. We're going to put it out everywhere.
Right. Yeah, everybody's going to see it before they. You definitely have a better audience than the Daily Show.
Well,
eat that, Project Veritas.
And
Thank
what
you, Richard.
See there, everybody, there's two kinds of things I deal with every day from morning till night. I deal.
My addiction and my Archangel Michael with a lightsaber.
With that kind of garbage. That guy. Now if you listen to him, he came unprepared. He was prepared for what he wanted to do, his agenda, but he didn't even bother and watch Absolutely 9-0. He didn't even bother and find out why we were having this freedom rally, this frank speech rally. Rolling Stone.
Yeah, he just goes to the live events. Dude, I'll fucking call you out any day. I'll throw down the gauntlet. I have no idea how to reach this asshole. But I have no problem debating Mike Lindell on everything that's in every one of his goddamn movies. Mike, I've already done it.
Stone, they came unprepared. That guy came totally unprepared.
I wish I could say that if he had watched those things, it would have made it a more balanced circumstance. But the reality is, if he sat down and watched all of Mike Lindell's stuff, it's hard not to be a complete asshole. Because there's a point in Mike Lindell's stuff where he crosses over from being just kind of a gullible sap to kind of a mean Trump suck-up in his heart.
And this is what goes on. Then you have the other foot where you heard me saying there, where, like Fox doesn't even show up. I mean, they don't, this is what's going on, our free speech and this is what's happening. You got.
Yeah. Your free speech is not violated if Fox doesn't cover your event. Imagine the ego here. The news has no responsibility to follow around your dog and pony, old-fashioned church revival, tent revival jibber jabber. Your weird version of InfoWars roadshow.
Mockers and attackers, and then you have the people that go, we don't.
Yeah, but I'm glad he pointed over my way for that one.
He want to get involved. If you heard, they'll say Dominion. That's why we're right now that. Like when I went on Jimmy Kimmel, the reason I invited the Daily Show and Steve, you warned me of these guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I invited the Daily Show because you didn't know what they were called. You weren't aware because you didn't do your homework. And no one else will come.
Which ones are bad?
You are that big of a joke, Mike.
Right now, they're all bad. It seems like.
Yeah, all of them, especially Fox, but yeah.
I don't have a publicist. I go right into these guys.
Yeah, I was ranting on a street corner and CNN didn't cover it. I'm being repressed.
Have my direct phone number, everybody. They call me. I go through this all day long. So when you see reports come out there and Mike Lindell does this, Mike Lindell this. This is they're taking pieces from a story. I'm so glad we got this one on film so you can see what goes on. Because this is what journalism has become in our country.
No, it isn't. It's the Daily Show. They're not journalists. They fuck with people for a living. Journalism?
It's they don't come prepared or they're hit jobs hired by outsiders or for entertainment purposes.
Yes, you are entertaining sometimes.
How dare they use terrible entertainment for when we've got our country
for entertainment
at stake here, Steve.
How dare they?
We've got our country at stake, and they're mocking things like, wouldn't you want it? I kept telling that reporter, wouldn't you want to know the truth? What if you had this evidence and we had to trust that guy with this evidence?
Mike, we're going to bounce, but we're going to get you back over.
Mike, we got to bounce, but thanks for blathering for 2 minutes straight and buying another 9 commercials.
We got to track you down and get you back on tomorrow. We got Cindy Powell next, Mike Lindell. Go to Frank's speech. We're going to get to the bottom of this. I want everybody to share this. Mike, thank you so much for coming.
I want everybody to share this because nobody is. Jesus. Oh, this is good. So, there's obviously, a ton of people digging in very hard on this, but what I don't understand is why Mike Lindell, I mean, did he, according to him, he invited The Daily Show? Knowing who they were or not knowing who they were? One would assume in his response that he did not know, and he does not know. Right? And again, I think the biggest problem I have with a lot of this stuff is that there is clearly a belief system amongst the right wing, especially in Lindell's case and certainly in Bannon's case and certainly in Trump's case, where they believe that if they're denied a platform that someone else owns, runs, and operates, then that's a denial of their rights. And the ego and to use a word I'm sure they'll freak out about, the privilege of expecting that you think you deserve it. Hire a publicist. Do your job. Like Mike Lindell is throwing money everywhere, so he can't hire multiple publicists to get his act together for him. It's weird. It's friggin' weird. So, anyways, I appreciate you guys. I will be on tomorrow an hour earlier, 2 p.m. as opposed to our regular time. Normally, technically 2 hours because of what it is, but I don't want to confuse people. Normally we're on a 3. We'll be on a 2 Pacific time tomorrow. How Mike Lindell doesn't get humor, so why in the world would he know what The Daily Show is? I agreed, but I think somebody would have at least, like Brandon House would have warned him, right? All right, and I will work on the quality of the video, but at least it wasn't choppy. So we have that going for us. Good, yeah, so... Rado Jada, okay, is he on right now? Excellent. Give me 1 second and I will do precisely that. We'll jump in here. Hold on. Go to my video producer and hop in here and then go to Stream Manager and then we'll go. It's a great idea. And then tomorrow, let's see, rate a channel. Let's see. I think I have him. I follow him, but I don't see him in there. Does anybody know what his Ojada's Twitter channel handle is off the top? It's not showing up in my thing. So yeah. Thank you, Treva. Thank you, Hype Train. We will jump in there in case anybody knows it. Give me one. Bye. Airborne. Thank you. Yeah. Oops. Mixed it up. There we go. There he is. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to raid him right now. There you go. Thank you guys for sticking around. Send him our love, and I will see you guys tomorrow an hour earlier, 2 p.m. Pacific time. So I'll let you guys raid on Twitter right now, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. See you later. Here's my new ending screen. Hope you like it.